Hey everybody, welcome to episode 3 of our Innistrad Kingdom Death Monster campaign, Lantern Year 2. We're gonna hunt another white lion. If you haven't seen the other episodes, you should definitely go check them out. See the progress of our magic named survivors, only one of who is missing an arm. A couple of them are, three of them I think, are missing jaws, or at least have shattered jaws. But yeah, go check those episodes out, because today we're going to hunt maybe our last white lion for at least a couple of episodes. We have the hunt board set up here, and we are ready to go check this lion out. So let's get started. We are going to start with our one-armed swordsman Jace, heading into the hunt event number 1. It is Lion's Sculpture. So Lion's Sculpture, a crudely arranged effigy, stands before the survivors, decorated with small metal trinkets, human fingers, and stuffed with dried tall grass. Their quarry's sculpture confounds the survivors. The survivors gaze at the arrangement, attempting to glean the substance of the white lion's bizarre inhuman intelligence. Each survivor gains +1 understanding and +1 insanity. No, I do not want screen rotation. Thank you very much, tablet. So we are going to give Elspeth +1 understanding. Understanding. We are going to give Gideon +1 understanding. We are going to give Liliana +1 understanding. We are going to give Jace +1 understanding. Boy, does Jace ever understand things. Nobody quite got to the next level of understanding like Jace did last episode, but they're all close. They're all one away. And everybody gets their insanity. And then you can see down at the bottom, we do have to roll a random hunt event. And what I'm going to do is turn off screen rotation on my tablet. I don't know why that's been an issue. Has not been an issue until now. All right. So let's roll, and we get event number 97. So let's head into the book here and check out event 97. Did we have 97 last week? We did not. Living stone. The ground shifts and rises sharply into the air. The survivors find themselves clutching the back of a giant creature that lay sleeping beneath their feet. The survivors hold on for dear life, absolutely terrified. Nominate a survivor to climb toward the top of the giant and see what lies ahead. They roll 1d10. Let's nominate Jace. Jace rolls a d10 and gets an 8. That's got to be good, right? It is. Hopefully, it's the top box anyways. It's the highest box we could get. You discover a bizarre creature with an inverted face diligently carving up on the giant's back. It discards damaged stone faces as it works. Each survivor catches a fragment, gaining 1 founding stone starting gear. Eventually, the giant settles down into the ground again. You dismount and discover your quarry. Ambush the monster. Wow. All right. So each of us just got a founding stone. I honestly don't know if I have enough founding stone cards left. We're already using 3 of them. We're going to need another 4. I don't think the game comes with 7. But let's go and update our starting gear. So we threw away a founding stone. I should have updated that before. And then we just got 4 more. So we have we have 7 founding stones available. So let me grab my pile of founding stones and starting gear. And here we go. We got 1, 2, 3. So we are going to be short a founding stone. I doubt it's going to matter in this run. We'll just have in the app that we have 7 of these available. There are only 6 that come with the game, but there is an unlimited supply. If it truly mattered, I would write a proxy card. I would make my own extra founding stone. So we'll distribute these founding stones. Now, normally you can't depart with 2 gear of the same name, so you could not come out with 2 founding stones. But that's not that big of a deal if you find them. Or at least I believe that's the case. Maybe you can. Maybe it's just items that you can't have multiples of. I'd have to look it up, but anyways, it doesn't matter if we found it. But that's the event, and we ambush the monster. Ambushing the monster means the hunt's over. Very short hunt phase. We have found the monster, and by ambushing it, we get to go first. So that'll be cool. So let's head into the showdown phase. All right, so we're back with the showdown phase, and you might notice a few weird things. First off, we have two new types of terrain. We have the Toppled Pillar, which is right here, a 1x3 piece of terrain. The Toppled Pillar is an obstacle, which means it does block field of view for ranged and monster targeting. It is impassable, meaning that survivors cannot just walk through it. However, if you're beside it, you can spend an action to hop over it. You can basically move from one side of it to the other. So I guess you can't see that without the card being away, but you could move from here to here, for example, by spending an entire action, which is a lot. The other thing you might notice, and this is why we're set up very close to the white lion, which normally we would not be allowed to do, there's a dead monster corpse sitting in front of that monster there, that white lion. If the dead monster is drawn during the showdown setup, survivors can start the showdown anywhere on the showdown board, and survivors may go first. We already ambushed this lion. Turns out maybe it was because it was feeding on this dead monster. So that's why I have set us up immediately in the white lion's blind spot. Huge. We've got Elspeth here in the grass. She's going to use her bow to shoot. As well, we can scavenge the corpse. So by being on it or beside it, you can spend an action to roll 1d10. 1 to 3, you find nothing, get rid of the terrain. 4 to 6, you find a basic resource, archive the terrain. 7 through 10, you gain a random resource from a monster resource deck of your choice and archive this terrain. So we could get a white lion resource, we could get a screaming antelope resource. I'm not sure if we could get a phoenix resource. I guess maybe. You probably can, right? It didn't say it had to be a quarry that we are able to hunt yet. But to be honest, I think we'd probably just get a white lion resource, because that's what we're looking for. All right, so just a few other updates on our survivors before we get going. I think I gave Liliana the bow at the end of the last episode. I've switched that out to Elspeth because I remembered something about Liliana. Liliana has the sneak attack fighting art, which actually makes me want to have Liliana in behind and not Gideon here. Or actually, no, I want Gideon's fist and tooth to get going. So let's have Gideon back there and Jace there. Liliana has the sneak attack fighting art. So when she attacks from the blind spot, she gets +4 strength for that attack, meaning that wounds are going to happen, and they're going to happen pretty easy. Just a couple of other things for us to remember here. Jace has a full rawhide armor set, meaning that Jace has the rawhide armor bonus of +1 armor to every hit location. And when he spends a survival, he has a 50% chance of getting the survival back. Same deal for Gideon. He also has a full rawhide set. Jace has a fighting art that probably won't come into play, where if he bleeds out and rolls a d6 and gets a 6 or higher, he doesn't bleed out. It's going to take 1 more bleeding token. It doesn't really matter for now that he has a dismembered arm or a shattered jaw. Gideon, what was his fighting art? Gideon gets perfect hits, that doesn't matter. Also has a shattered jaw. And we'll need to remember that Elspeth, of course, is a rageaholic. And if she suffers a severe injury, she's also going to suffer the frenzy brain trauma. But I think we can get going, and we get to start first since we ambushed the monster twice, I suppose, from the White Lion Hunt event card that we revealed and the monster, the dead monster corpse here. So let's actually start out with Jace harvesting or attempting to harvest this dead monster just while we're here and while we're starting. We don't need to get going too quickly against this White Lion, I hope. So we roll 1d10 to scavenge. We roll a 10, which means we get a random resource from a deck of our choice, and we're going to pick the White Lion's deck because we are hunting for kind of specifically the White Lion Claw, because that's going to let us get a spear and or a clawhead arrow, which are going to be handy for future monsters, be it the antelope or more white lions, or, I don't know, the butcher in a couple of years who's going to show up at our settlement. So Jace digs around in this desiccated monster corpse that the white lion is eating, and finds some white fur. Good old white fur. So we archive that terrain. It is no longer there. And that is Jace's turn. Jace is not going to bother moving at all. Up next, let's have Elspeth, the red one, shoot her bow. So the bow is a speed of 2, an accuracy of 7. It is cumbersome, meaning that she has to spend her move and her action to shoot this. So she can't move after this. So it's an accuracy of 7, so it'll hit on 7s. We do have to start checking our stats now, because everybody has strength, everybody has evasion, thanks to survival of the fittest. But she does not have a boost to accuracy, so she hits on 7s. She rolls a 7 and a 1. I don't remember if I shuffled this hit location deck, so let's shuffle that up. We don't want to have the beast's chest on top and roll double criticals again. That would be bad. It would be bad narratively. Oops. You know, at some point, somebody has to die in one of these fights, right? Otherwise, the story's boring. All right. So let's call that shuffled. Elspeth hits the beast's flank with an arrow. Now, this white lion has a toughness of 8, meaning that she'll wound on an 8. The catgut bow has 3 damage, and she has a strength, so that is 4. We're going to wound on a 4. So you can see how once you start getting strength and once you start getting powerful weapons, it becomes a lot easier to wound at least this level 1 white lion. So we're going to wound on a 4. We roll, we hit a 6, we wound the white lion's flank. It does have a wound reaction. I might need to fix the green screen. I didn't look over and notice that. I'll be right back while I do that. All right, that appears fixed. Hopefully it wasn't like that for too long. I do apologize if it was. I was using natural lighting to help this. I've got 2 very bright lights, but I really think I need way more lights to make this like perfectly high quality. Maybe we'll make hundreds of dollars off of these videos and get there. Anyways, this has a wound reaction. Cats hate this. The monster is very upset. The attacker gets the priority target token. So unfortunately, Elspeth, our bow person, is now going to get targeted. At least she's in the grass and she's got an evasion from survival of the fittest. So it may not be too bad, I hope. The one issue may be Jace is standing in the way, which means he's probably going to get toppled over. So that was Elspeth's turn. Let's throw a token on her so we remember. And let's get our blind spot folks going. So Liliana in behind, the sneak attacker, she's got a bone blade, a founding stone. The bone blade is a little bit more accurate with more damage. So let's go with bone blade on the monster. It hits on a 6. So with the accuracy bonus of being in the blind spot, it'll hit on 5s. We roll double crits. Double crits. So Liliana just stabs this white lion in the fleshy gut and in the beast's temple. And are you ready for some big numbers here? This white lion has a toughness of 8, as we've said, so we are going to wound on an 8. Liliana has a strength of 1. We are going to wound on a 7. This bone blade has 2 damage. We are going to wound on a 5. Liliana has that sneak attack fighting art for +4 strength. We're going to wound on a 1. Except 1s are always failures. 10s are always successes. So we will fail on a 1. But as long as we don't roll a 1, we are hitting this lion. Liliana is going to be a powerhouse for a while. Let's go with the beast's temple first. It does have a failure action, so let's not roll a 1, shall we? We get a 6. We do wound the beast's temple. Let's go for the fleshy gut. Let's not roll a 1. We roll a 5. We wound the fleshy gut. Liliana is going to carry this team for a little bit, I think. Her having a sneak attack, and she has no injuries either, does she? She does not. We might have to get her some armor or something because she's going to do some work. Let me tell you what. There's a few things I do want to do here. As I mentioned last week with the weapon proficiencies, Liliana is a sword proficient person. In order to earn your proficiency point at the end of a battle, you must have gotten a wound with that weapon. It can be very hard to remember that. The app has a little checkbox. I have earned the proficiency point so long as she survives. Jace. Jace investigated the thing he did not stab. He is also a swords person because we don't quite have a spear just yet. One of them will turn into a spear person. Elspeth is not old enough yet to be proficient with the bow, so it doesn't matter that she did wound with the bow. She needs one more hunt XP before she can start specializing. So that was Liliana's turn. The last person we have here is Gideon. Gideon is our fist and tooth boy. He is going to bite the white lion from behind, which is an accuracy of 8. Bonus from being behind. We're going to hit on 7s. We get a 5 and a 9, so we hit once in the beast's tricep. Toughness of 8. Fist and tooth does not have any extra damage, but Gideon does have 1 strength. 2 strength, because Gideon is... Gideon was the one who threw the stone in the first episode. So Gideon is going to wound on a 6. Rolls a 7. Perfect. We wound the beast's tricep. 4 wounds before the lion has even taken a turn. All right. All right. Feels good. Feels good. I think we're going to rip this white lion limb from limb. Which could mean that we're getting, like, close-ish to wanting to hunt a level 2 white lion. I haven't actually really gotten far enough in any campaign that I've ever done to really try to do level 2s. I usually restart my campaigns. I have a lot of experience with level 1 white lions. Level 2 white lions and level 2 monsters in general, basically they give you more resources when you kill them. They are significantly more deadly. My understanding is one of the things you definitely want to have access to is dash, which we got. That's the ability to spend a survival point to take a movement action even during the white lion's attack. We'll need to remember we have that. But the white lion is now going to have its first attack, and it is enraged. It is angry. Angry. Enraged, of course, when this comes into play, we draw an AI card. So we're going to have another attack after this. While Enraged is in play, the white lion gains +1 damage. It's going to be doing a lot more damage on every attack. Let's throw that token down so I remember. When a survivor suffers any dismembered severe injury or is killed, discard Enraged. So Enraged is just going to kind of hang out in play. This white lion is going to do damage. We need to be dodging these attacks. We need to be staying in the grass as much as possible. The white lion's actual attack is going to be Claw, the most basic of attacks. So target doesn't matter because it's going to be Elspeth because she has the priority target. She has been targeted, so she loses it. She is not the monster controller. So the white lion is going to move 2. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, kind of regardless of how it moves, it's going to end up on Jace, I believe. Yup, looks like it. So it ends up on Jace, which means Jace is going to get knocked back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and get knocked over. Sucks to be you, Jace. And the monster is going to attack Elspeth for a speed of 2, an accuracy of 2, 4, because she's in tall grass, and she has a base evasion, so 5. The white lion is going to hit on 5s. A 6 and an 8. So the white lion is going to deal 2 damage to 2 places. And she doesn't have armor, so she's probably going to dodge one of these. It's going to deal 2 damage to legs and 2 damage to body. You know what? She'll take both of them because either way she's going to get knocked down. So light damage to body, heavy damage to body, she is knocked down. Light damage to legs, heavy damage to legs, she is knocked down again, I guess. Okay. Let's protect Elspeth as much as possible because she's got our bow, and that's kind of important. We need to kill this monster, and we need to kill it fast before it rips us apart much more. So Elspeth and Jace do not get to stand up. Gideon cannot encourage because he has a shattered jaw. Liliana could encourage, and we might want to do that. And I also need to check if encourage allows everybody to stand up or if it's just one person. I don't actually know. It says to encourage a survivor in the glossary. Yeah, so that's two cards that say A, and this is an interesting place to have a discussion about the rule of death. The rule of death is often misinterpreted as always choose the worst possible thing. And that's not true. That's not true. When there is a sort of argument or not understanding a rule, rather than pausing this video and going and searching the internet and figuring everything out, choose the worst possible outcome. So it's not always the worst possible outcome. In this case, it appears, reading the rule as written, I have to pick a survivor to have them stand up. And that's also worse than letting everybody stand up. So we'll go with it. So Liliana is going to spend one of her survival down to 2 to have Elspeth stand up. And I think what is going to happen is Elspeth is going to kind of leave the grass just to get some space while still being able to shoot. But she won't be able to shoot the bow because it's cumbersome. Maybe it would be better to have Jace stand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could at least run back into the grass and try to stab the lion. And he does have a lot of armor, so he could tank some damage. So let's do that. Liliana spent her survival to tell Jace to stand his ass up. So we'll take Jace's turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Jace is going to attack the white lion head on with his bone blade. Speed of 2, accuracy of 6. So we're going to hit on 6s. We get a 9 and a 9. So that's 2 hits. Jace hits the beast's femur and the beast's ear. The femur does not have a failure state, so that's a plus. So let's go for that. Jace is going to wound on an 8, 7, 6, 5. We roll the die and we get a 6, so we do successfully wound the beast's femur. Goodbye, femur. And now we will attack and attempt to wound the beast's ear, which does have a failure state. Again, we're going to wound on a 5. We get a 7. We wound the beast's ear with no failure. Things are going good. Things are going good. There's not that much. There's 3 cards left in the deck. There's a very outside chance we kill the white lion this turn if we choose to have Lily and Gideon come out of the grass here. That would be... Did I put those tokens back? These must have been the tokens that I put back. That'll be Jace's turn. I mean, Liliana has those huge bonuses to attacking from behind. She just doesn't have armor. And actually, if the white lion perhaps would run, we have the ability to dash. We could have Jace dash out of the way. Yeah, we have dash. I should have remembered that we had dash when the white lion went after Elspeth, because Jace could have gotten out of the way, Elspeth could have run away, and the white lion would have just charged and not gotten there. I got to remember about dash. Anyways, let's have Liliana come on in behind. She is going to attack with the Bone Blade, speed of 2, accuracy of 5 from behind. We get a 9 and a crit. That is 2 hits from behind. We get the Glorious Mane, and we get the Soft Belly. Let's start it with the Glorious Mane. It is, of course, impervious, which means we can't actually get a wound here, but maybe we get to rip a piece of the White Lion's mane off. So remember, Lily has the ludicrous bonuses from behind, so she's going to wound on any roll that is not a 1. And we get the crit. So we get the wound. Again, it's impervious, so we don't actually get to take a wound off, but we do gain the Shimmering Mane White Lion resource. If the attacker is insane, she is not. The sheer frustration grants them power. Gain +1 strength token. She doesn't need it. But she's also not insane. Insane being an insanity of 3 or higher. But we get a Shimmering Mane resource. We could make a headdress out of that. All right, our next hit is against the Soft Belly. Again, we are going to wound on anything that is not a 1. We get a 6, so we wound the Soft Belly. And that is Liliana's turn. Elspeth is not going to do anything because she can't stand up, so we'll just mark her as done. This just leaves Gideon, and honestly, 2 cards left in the deck. We're not going to win this turn, but I think this fight's basically over. So Gideon's going to come out of the grass, and he's going to bite this White Lion from behind. Accuracy of 7. We roll a 6 and a 5. We miss and we miss. No such luck, Gideon. All right, we're going to head on into the White Lion's next turn, move the monster controller over to Elspeth. The White Lion's final card in the deck is Bat Around. Closest threat facing in range would be Jace. So again, we could, because there's this arrow here, we could now dash. We could have Jace run the hell away. Unfortunately, remember, we have a movement of 5 right now, and the White Lion has a movement of 6. The White Lion's going to catch up because he's standing right in front. We can't get out of the way. So what we are going to do is we're instead going to have Jace just try to dodge these attacks. So the attack is a speed of 2 with an accuracy of 5, 6, 7 because Jace is in the tall grass, 8 because Jace has an evasion. The White Lion does have to roll 8s to get a hit here. You can see how good evasion is and how good the tall grass is. The White Lion rolls a crit and a 5, so that is 1 hit, dealing 1 + 1 damage to the arms. So we could just take the 2 damage. We have 2 armor there anyways, so we don't even take light damage. After damage, the monster playfully bats the survivor around. They suffer brain damage equal to the monster's level. That would be 1 brain damage. Jace has an insanity. Honestly, Jace is just going to dodge this because it'll also get us in the practice of making sure we do the right thing with our bonus here. So Jace spends a survival to dodge, canceling that hit. It didn't happen. And now remember our bonus for having Jace in a full rawhide armor set. We get to roll 1d10. And if we do, we get that survival point back. If we roll a 6 or higher, we roll an 8. So Jace just gets that survival back. Having full armor sets is a big bonus. So that's the end of the White Lion's turn. Elspeth was knocked down at the... she was already knocked down at the start of that turn, so she gets to stand up at the end of the turn. And now we get to try to tear this thing apart. So let's get going, shall we? First step, we're going to have Elspeth come out of the grass and take some shots with her bow. So Elspeth is going to attack with her bow, a speed of 2, an accuracy of 7. We roll a 9 and a 7. That is 2 hits. Elspeth triggers the trap card. And this is bad, because this means that Elspeth is doomed. When you are doomed, you cannot spend survival. So she cannot dodge. She cannot dash. She is going to get attacked. She might die here, which is probably fine, to be honest, in the grand scheme of things. So the White Lion is going to do its basic attack. Its basic attack is move, and then attack with a speed of 2, an accuracy of 2, 3 because she has an evasion. A 9 and a 4, that is 2 hits, dealing 2 damage each. 2 damage each to Elspeth's body and body. Elspeth already has heavy damage to her body. So the first hit, luckily we don't have to roll twice on the table for each point of damage. This hit to the body, all of that damage will go into one severe injury roll on the body table. So we open up the book and we roll a d10 on the body severe injury table. We roll a 9. Collapsed lung. You can't catch a breath. Gain -1 movement token. Gain +1 bleeding token. So she has a bleeding token and she has a temporary decrease in her movement. Now remember, Elspeth is a rageaholic. She is a rageaholic. She has suffered a severe injury. So she is also going to suffer the brain trauma frenzy. The frenzy brain trauma is roll 1d5. Gain that much insanity. She gains 3 insanity. She also gains +1 speed. So she's going to roll an extra die for the rest of this fight. She also gains +1 strength for the rest of this fight. She's going to wound really well. She ignores slow on melee weapons. That has no effect. She cannot spend survival. She cannot use her fighting arts. She doesn't have any. This can be made multiple times, and it lasts until the end of the showdown. Not too bad. Kind of a big bonus. But now we have that other hit. So Elspeth is again going to have to roll on the body severe injury table. And she rolls a 9. She gets another collapsed lung, meaning that now she is only going to be able to move 3 spaces. She again suffers the frenzy trauma. Rolling 1d5, she gets 2 more insanity. She has 8 insanity. She has another bonus strength token. She has another bonus speed token. If we get to another shot, oh, and she gets another bleeding token. If she gets another shot of that bow, she's going to be rolling 4 dice and wounding on like anything but a 1. That was not the worst case scenario for Elspeth. Not the worst case scenario. Honestly, I would have been okay if she died. The Rageaholic was nice, but otherwise she hasn't gotten anything. She's a level 1, just 1 experience point. She doesn't have any weapon proficiencies. She doesn't have any fighting arts, so not a big deal. But keeping her alive is good, because she will become proficient in a weapon if she survives. She has a whole lot of insanity. And yeah, Jace can also just stab this lion in the butt. Now Elspeth can spend survival, so if the white lion is going to dash forward, then Elspeth can perhaps get out of the way of the charging white lion, which would be a pretty big bonus. So the hit location reshuffled with the trap card in there. That is Elspeth's turn. Let's have Jace go and stab this thing in the butt. Speed of 2, accuracy of 5. 6/6. That is 2 hits. We stab the white lion in the back, which does have a failure of running straight forward. And we have a beast's femur. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the attacker cannot spend survival during their attack. But I believe that everyone else can. That's what I've been saying about running out of the way of these reactions. The only times that survivors may dash or surge, survival opportunities exist at the following times: during flows on monster AI cards, no. Between actions on the survivor's turn. Before performing reactions. There we go. So before we perform that reaction, if Jace fails, we can dash Elspeth out of the way. So let's start with the beast's femur. because it does not have a reaction at all. So Jace is going to wound on an 8, 7, 6, 5. Jace is going to wound on a 5, the beast's femur. We roll a 9, we do wound the beast's femur. So let's shuffle up the 2 remaining AI cards. And get rid of 1. So we have what? Claw or Battle Round left in that deck, I think. And now let's attempt to wound the beast's back. We're going to wound on a 5. We roll a 9. We do, in fact, wound the beast's back. The White Lion's final AI card is gone. So we just have to wound it one more time to kill it. We've never gotten here because we've always stabbed it in the heart. The White Lion dies when there are no cards left in its AI deck, and you wound it one more time. For the remainder of the game, it will be performing its basic action attack, which is 2/2/1 plus 1 damage. Whenever we have had to do a basic action, that's what we've been doing. The White Lion will just continue to do that attack forever. We do have this leftover mood card, but it is not in the AI deck. Unless it gets discarded, we don't have to wound that one away. So it's almost sort of a good thing that the mood is currently in play because it's not a card we have to get rid of. So we are going to continue our turn here. Jace has finished his attack. Good job, Jace. That leaves us with Lily, who should have an incredibly good chance of wounding as long as she hits. Thank you in kind to her sneak attack. So let's move her on in behind the White Lion here. Let's have her attack with the Bone Blade. A speed of 2, an accuracy of 5. We get 6/6, 2 wounds. We have the beast's maw, and we have the beast's knee. Let's take a look at these, because if we wound, and we're going to wound on anything other than a 1, we would like to get a resource out of it if we can. We're going to go with the beast's maw, because it has a bonus if we crit. So we're going to wound on literally anything other than a 1, and we roll a 5. We successfully wound the beast's maw, and would you look at that, we ripped this White Lion limb from limb. I would say that our survivors are pretty well kitted out and pretty well improved. We got out with no permanent severe injuries. Elspeth had a couple of lungs collapsed. She didn't have any other lungs left to collapse, I suppose. But we did it. We did it. That was a good fight. Next week, I think we're going to face the Screaming Antelope, a fight that I believe I have only ever done once. So maybe things will go more poorly. But let's start divvying out some rewards for killing this White Lion. So we already have the Caterium, the place where we build cat stuff, but we do need to get our resources. We get 4 White Lion basic resources, and we get 4 normal basic resources to take back to the camp. And then we get to do our settlement phase and see what horrible things could happen. Perhaps we have another triathlon of death. I hope not. That was a long settlement phase last week. Long settlement phase. We get ourselves great cat bones. We get ourselves white fur. None of these are claws. Hey, there we go. We get a lion claw. We can make a spear. And we get some more hefty pairs of nuts. All right. Not bad. Whoops. Get back there, green screen. Not bad, not bad. That is going to let us build a spear or an arrow. Both of them require the cat claw. I'll have to think about which one I want. We'll take a look when we get to the settlement phase. So that's the White Lion resources. So now we're going to get our basic resources. I don't honestly know what I'm hoping for here. We're kind of set on rawhide. I could probably use a lot of organs. Organs can make monster grease, which gives you just like +1 evasion, just by having it in your gear grid. And I think you might have realized how good evasion can be in this fight especially. That White Lion did not hit us much. Did not hit us much at all. So our 4 basic resources are Monster Bone, Skull. When you gain this, a survivor of your choice gains +1 insanity. Jace is pretty low on insanity. Let's give him +1. Also, there weren't any bonuses on the cat ones, right? There were not. So we get a skull, a monster bone, a monster hide, and a monster hide. So again, unfortunately short on monster organs, but we'll make do. We'll make do. We've got the hefty pair of nuts. That's a start. That's a start. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is give everybody a hunt XP. So Jace goes up to 3, good for him. Liliana goes up to 3, good for her. Gideon goes up to 3, good for him. Elspeth goes up to 2. So Elspeth gets to age and choose a weapon proficiency. And Elspeth is going to be our bow person. She proved herself in that fight with that catgut bow. So let's give her a bow weapon proficiency. And before we age up Elspeth, I am not going to forget, Gideon did wound with Fist and Tooth, so he gets a weapon proficiency. Liliana did wound with a sword. She gets a weapon proficiency. And Jace did wound with a sword, so he gets a weapon proficiency. At 3 weapon proficiency points, they become a specialist, and it's going to give them a bonus when they attack with that. Different kinds of bonuses, re-rolls, extra rolls, extra damage, etc. But that's going to take a couple more years for them. So now we get to age up Elspeth. So let's turn to the age page. So Elspeth has chosen her weapon proficiency of bow. We get to roll 2d10, and we roll 18. Elspeth gets +1 permanent accuracy. That's pretty good for a bow person. So she is just going to hit just a little bit easier going forward. Good job, Elspeth. All right, with that, it is time for us to head back to the settlement phase. So I'll get that set up, and I'll see you in a split second. All right, so here we are at the settlement phase. We have set up the settlement. The survivors have returned, which means they have healed up. We gain endeavors, so we get 4 for our returning survivors. Remember, Jace, with his understanding, is now a tinkerer. So, or he can tinker. He returns with an extra endeavor, so we have 5 available. We update the timeline. We are now on Lantern Year 3, or at least we're going to get into starting Lantern Year 3. There is no pre-written event, like the Screaming Antelope event last year, but we do have to do our settlement event, which is Weird Dream. Let's find out what Weird Dream is. I don't actually know offhand what Weird Dream is. We've dodged murder, and we've dodged plague, which is good. Weird Dream. I would show off, like, I can't show off these cards that well on camera because there was a lot of text on these things. So, Weird Dream settlement event. If you are the only player, I am. A survivor dreams about a giant man that controls their lives from the darkness above. Who could that be? All departing survivors gain +3 insanity. Otherwise, okay. So everybody's just going to get +3 insanity when they leave, but let's read what happens here if we had more players than just me. The group must select a player to be the storyteller and a survivor to be the dreamer. The dreamer has a weird dream, and the storyteller must tell the rest of the group all about it. The remaining players will vote to determine if the dream was well told and then consult the crowd reaction below. Well told, a truly amazing tale. The settlement is inspired and gains 1d5 endeavors. Poorly told, the settlement boos and heckles the dreamer. Add the nickname settlement event to the timeline next year and nominate the dreamer for it. Nominate 3 other survivors. Having a great laugh, they gain survival up to the current survival limit if they depart this year. The storyteller may not play as one of those survivors for the next hunt and showdown. The selected player rolls 1d10 on each of the following tables to determine what the survivor's weird dream was about. The player should try their best to weave a compelling story to share with the other players and the settlement. I'm going to roll on this, even though we don't have to do this. We're just giving +3 insanity. So the dream that I would have told was about your child hunting another survivor, and you wake up but realize that you are still dreaming. All right, that's kind of a cool card if we had more players playing, but I'll take +3 insanity for everybody. That does mean that everybody's going to be insane, but that's fine. That's fine. Update our death count, no need. Check milestone events. We don't have 15 people. We don't have 5 innovations. So it's time for us to develop and figure all this stuff out. I'll leave this card here so I remember that we have a +3 insanity coming to our departing survivors. So we got ourselves a hide, a bone, an organ, a bone that we're going to definitely use. Hide, bone, shimmering mane, which we can actually archive for 2 basic hide resources if we don't want to use it as a main, and yet another hide. So only 1 organ still kind of sucks because we can't actually make monster grease, because monster grease requires there we go, 2 organs. Actually, we have sinew sitting around from a previous hunt. We have sinew and great cat bones laying around. So we could make a monster grease, but I think I just want to innovate. Well, we can. I don't need a lucky charm. I don't want fecal salve. Yeah, let's start out with innovating. So innovating, remember, costs 1 of our endeavor tokens. It costs an organ. It costs a bone. And it costs a hide. And then we get to draw 2 innovations and pick 1 for our settlement. So we'll use the app for that. We have drawn drums and hovel. So let's take a look at what those are. I believe we'll be choosing hovel. I think it's important to have a house before you have a drum. But, you know, maybe other people have different priorities in their lives. All right, so we have hovel, which gives us a +1 survival limit. So we would have 4 survival that we could be up to, and our departing survivors would gain +1 survival. The settlement accepts this nightmarish landscape as its home. Or we could get some sweet drums. Drums don't do anything, but they give us an outlet to spend our endeavor actions. You could spend an endeavor action to drum alone and gain +2 insanity, gain +2 survival, or gain rhythm chaser fighting art, or synchronized strike secret fighting art. So we have a way to improve ourselves through very specific fighting arts. But this early in the campaign, I just want to have higher survival limits. Higher survival limits, getting +1 survival on departure means dodging, means encouraging, means dashing. So we're definitely going to take hovel and add it to our settlement, which will add the hovel consequences into the settlement deck. So now we can, I believe, get things like beds and such, should we innovate those. That leaves us with 4 actions, 4 hides, 3 bones, and a sinew. So like I said, I really want to get us a spear. I would really like to get a clawhead arrow as well. Let's take a look at these 2 things that I'm thinking about so you can see kind of why I really want both of them. So here's the spear. I have actually remembered to order a binder. I believe it will be here today, actually. So the spear is a 2-handed weapon, so 1-armed Jace can't use it, unfortunately. It is also heavy, should that matter, melee weapon spear, but it has a reach of 2. So you can attack from 2 spaces away, so you don't have to be exactly beside it. It's another way to deal with ground fighting, for example. And it's another way to just sort of stay out of range. It's got a speed of 2, an accuracy of 6, and a damage of 3. It's a pretty dang good weapon. The clawhead arrow, the other thing that I'm thinking about, this would be very specifically for our bow people. So Elspeth right now. Clawhead arrow is an ammo, which means that it is slow, so you can only ever roll 1 die, even if you have extra speed. If you have speed of 7, where you would roll 7 dice, you can only ever roll 1 for a slow weapon. It is ammo bow, which means that you have to have a bow in your gear grid. So I can't just give this to somebody else to like stab with the arrow. But if you hit, not even wound, monster gains -1 evasion token for the entire showdown. So if you hit with this arrow, you are going to make that monster easier to hit for the entire showdown. So this is an amazing like opening salvo in a fight. But both of them require our lion claw. And so we're going to have to make a choice. And I think we'll pick up the spear. I think we'll pick up the spear. It's going to let us diversify our weapon proficiencies a little bit. So we had 2 sword masters. I believe Liliana was a sword master as well. And she did get a proficiency point in it. Which, you know, honestly makes me... Honestly kind of makes me want to see who dies first. See if Liliana or Jace die first, and then start working on a spears person. Whereas we know we have a bow person. She already has bow proficiency started. And that arrow's real good. That's tough. I think I'm going to go with the clawhead arrow. I don't know if that's an incorrect choice, but I'm going to go with the clawhead arrow. So we spend a lion claw, we get a clawhead arrow, and we're going to give that immediately to our bow person. Technically, you don't give stuff to people until they depart, but we know she's going to head out with that, so that's fine. So let's add to our gear that we have now built a clawhead arrow. And then what else can we build? So I actually kind of want to maybe think about getting a weapon crafter starting. So you can see at the bottom of, or not actually weapon crafter, maybe leather worker. So you can see at the bottom of the skinnery, we could actually build a leather worker. So we can build a new building for 3 hide and an organ. And we have the leftover hide and organs. And that's going to let us start building leather. And leather armor is pretty good. We get access to a leather shield, which is really good. And you know what? I think I'll actually do this. So we spend an endeavor token. And we spend 3 hide and 1 organ. That'll be the sinew that we had left over from, I believe, last year. So let's get that out of my settlement. We still have great cat bones laying around. Let's remember that. And that lets us build the leather worker. So let's take a look at what the leather worker looks like. So the leather worker has, and again, these cards are large, so you can't really see them great, but the leather worker has a variety of leather armor, which is another armor set. It also has round leather shield. This is a weapon, despite it being a shield. That is also another weapon proficiency that we would really like to work on, because when you become a shield specialist, I believe you give armor to everybody. Let's take a look at that. The hunt phase went so quick, I think we've got some time to talk about some settlement stuff. Those are not the cards that I want. Here we go. So I've been talking about weapon proficiency. When you get 3 points of proficiency, you become a specialist. So let's say, for example, you become a shield specialist. While a shield is in your gear grid, you are no longer knocked down after collision with a monster. So when the monster runs into you or runs through you, you don't get knocked down. And while a shield is in your gear grid, add 1 to all hit locations. So let's say that we had rawhide armor, for example. We have 2 points in every hit location for having a full rawhide set. If we have a shield specialist also with the rawhide, they're going to have 3 armor in every single place. If you max out your weapon proficiency, you would become a shield master. While a shield master is adjacent to a survivor targeted by a monster, they can swap spaces so the shield survivor can jump in front. Yeah. So Shield Mastery is basically a way to get even more armor points and kind of become a really good tank for the team. So that's why you might want to work on getting Shield specialization. We could take a quick look at the other specializations that we're working on, since I think we have some time. We're working on getting a bow specialist. The bow, when they attack with it, you can re-roll any misses once. So you just get extra chances at hitting. We're currently working on a fist and tooth specialist. That's Gideon. So fist and tooth specialist, you can stand up at the start of the monster's turn or the survivor's turn. So you just have, you get up way faster. And we're working on what, a sword specialist? I believe people don't really care for sword specialists usually. But again, you can play this game in such a way that you'll win a ton just by taking the absolute meta calls of every choice. But a lot of it is just sort of experimenting and having fun and finding the stuff that works well. So here's our sword specialist. When attacking with a sword, after drawing hit locations, make a wound attempt, then select the hit location. So instead of having to pick the hit location and then attempting, you get to attempt, see if you succeed or fail, and then pick where you hit. So that's a cool little bonus there. Okay, but here's the trick. Here's the trick. You might notice, if you can see, that all of these things require leather, and we've been getting hide, not leather. That's because the leather worker has leather making. You can spend an endeavor action to take any number of hides and turn them into leather. And I think we're going to do that. So the shimmering mane has the special ability at the bottom. You can archive the shimmering mane to get 2 basic hides. So we will say that we now have 2 basic hides floating around, and we will spend our endeavor token to turn those 2 basic hides into leather. And I'm not going to pull those out actually, because we're going to be inventorying them pretty shortly here. So I could make a leather mask if I had scrap. I do have a broken lantern laying around, right? No, we threw that away when we did augury. So we don't have any scrap laying around. That would be broken lanterns. I believe there's a way to find scrap if you have the weapon crafter, I think. Leather and hide would let us make bracers. We don't have any hide. Leather and bone would let us make a leather curious. You know, I've never known how to say Cuirass. Cuirass. A leather skirt would just be 1 leather. We could make a hunter whip. All right, let's take a look at the leather cuirass or the leather skirt, because we could make both of those pretty easily. Actually, we could just make both of those and be on our way to a leather set for somebody. So let's find us the leather worker. Here's the leather worker. So leather cuirass. And you'll see why leather is good. That is 3 armor to the body just by wearing this. 3 straight up armor. The other thing that we could build is the leather skirt, which is also just plain Jane 3 armor to the waist. No special bonuses. And you know what? I think I'll do that. So we got 2 leather. I'm going to spend a leather and a bone. The bone will be the great cat bones, because we already have one sitting in our storage. So we have a leather cuirass, and we'll spend our second leather that we made to get a leather skirt. And that is 2/5 of the way to a full leather set, which has got to be good. And we could give that to Liliana, our nutso blind spot attacking swords person. Getting rid of her loincloth because now she has a skirt. Okay, so that just leaves us with a bone, a skull, a great cat bone, and a piece of iron that we can't really use at the moment. We should probably protect some people's heads. So let's turn the skull into a skull helm. This is a special use of the skull. You can see that on the bone smith, a skull helm is 2 bones or 1 skull. So let's use our one skull to get ourselves a skull helm. And I have one of these laying around in my personal non-recorded campaign pile, which is getting decimated. So it's going to be tricky to maintain the recorded campaign and my personal campaign, which will lead to some interesting situations. We're going to put this on Liliana. She doesn't have any head protection right now, and she is going to be getting in there with the White Lion, or perhaps the Screaming Antelope. So there we go. She's got 3 armor on the head, 3 armor on the waist, 3 armor on the body. She is protected. And that leaves us with just the Great Cat Bone, which I think I'll save for later in case we can get a claw at some point. All right, so that brings us pretty much to the end of the settlement phase. We have 2 endeavors left. We cannot leather make because we don't have any hides left. We cannot build a weapon crafter. We don't have 3 bones and a hide. We have built our leather worker. We cannot innovate because we already have the shear, and we don't have a spare bone hide organ. The Caterium does not provide anything. We do not have 3 organs and a hide to build a barber surgeon. So we have 2 things that we could do. We could augury, which is where we maybe get a survival, maybe an understanding, or maybe intimacy. Or we could do shared experience, where anybody who has 2 more XP than anybody else teaches them and gives them 1 XP. That would be a way for us to make sure that if one of our sort of current 4 primary survivors dies, we have somebody kind of at the ready to start learning a little bit more. And I don't know that I feel a great desire to get a baby made right now, especially since our babies are now a little bit more deadly to get because we have to roll 2 dice and take the lowest number. So in that case, we got a 1 and a crit. We would take the 1. We have not seen what happens on a 1 in the intimacy, but it's bad. You know what? We actually have a bunch of people who are very close to understanding some things. Let's have Elspeth do augury. So to do augury, I've never really read the side text there. That if your understanding is 3 or higher, you get to add +1. So this is kind of a not exactly reliable, but slightly more reliable way of having intimacy happen. But we're gonna have Elspeth roll because I wouldn't mind getting her an understanding here. She rolls a 6, however, so she just gains 1 survival, going up to 4. Let's have her do it again. So we'll spend our last endeavor token. I really kind of want to roll a 1 to 3 here. We roll a crit, which means we're going to practice some intimacy. I'm going to say that real creepy like every time. All right, we're going to practice some intimacy. That means that we need a consenting male and a consenting female. Teysa has nothing going on. She was brand new last year. So Teysa is going to be the consenting female. Teyo is going to be the consenting male. Let's head on into the intimacy table. And let's see what happens. Because of survival of the fittest, that choice that we made, we have to roll 2 dice on the intimacy table and pick the lowest number. We roll a 3 and a 2. These, luckily, are the same box. We don't have to discuss rerolls, unfortunately. Because while we could re-roll this 2, for example, and get a 2, let's say we got an 8, we would then have to pick the 3. If my understanding of survival of the fittest is correct. If it is not, please let me know. I do believe we only get to re-roll the 1 die. Because remember, with survival of the fittest, every survivor has a once in a lifetime reroll. So we could say that Teysa does her reroll to see what happens, but I believe it only functions on one die. So unfortunately, the female survivor perishes with her child during birth. The settlement is cast in gloom. The male survivor mourns, gaining a random disorder and +3 insanity. So Teysa has died in childbirth. So let's mark her as dead. The survivor still has their lifetime reroll. Are you sure you want to kill them before using it? You know what? I know rule of death, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I'm going to go look this up. All right, so unfortunately, I can't find an exact answer to that, so we are just going to have her die. Which does give us a Graves bonus. She died in the settlement phase, meaning that Graves gives us... Graves gives us one additional endeavor bonus here. And we will spend that endeavor bonus just on teaching somebody. Oh, we also have to give Teo +3 insanity and a random disorder, which we'll just do in the app. Teo has arithmophilia. When you gain this disorder, roll 1d5. Your movement is that number. Teo's movement is 2. Wow. Teo is never going out. Okay, so our last endeavor we'll spend on giving Koth an XP from one of our survivors who has 3 XP. Can't be Gideon, can't be Jace. They both have Shattered Jaws, so it'll be Liliana. So congrats, Koth. You get +1 Hunt XP from the Lantern Horde. Shared experience. Nominate a survivor with 2 or more Hunt XP. They describe the details of their desired death. If they're not death, you gain +1 Hunt XP. Yep, cool. All right, so that is going to let us get ready to send everybody else for the next year. We're going to send out Elspeth, of course. We're going to send out Gideon. We're going to send out Jace, and we're going to send out Liliana. We have kind of our primary hunting party here and a bunch of really unfortunate people left behind. We're actually getting really short on females. We have 4 to the 5 males. We are going to need to focus on making some babies pretty soon. But we're going to send those 4 out. Let's give them their +3 insanity from their weird dream about a gigantic person controlling their every actions. So that is going to make them all insane, some of them more insane than others. And we are going to go hunt the Screaming Antelope, a monster that I do not have much experience with. So that'll be an interesting video next week, but we are going to go hunt that white antelope. Again, as always, let me know any feedback about things that have worked, things that have not. I hope the green screen stayed functional the whole time. I think I saw a little bit of weirdness from it, but let me know anything you want to let me know. Like, share, subscribe, everything you want to let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, see y'all next time.